Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Jordan Davis Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Davis, and on today's episode, I will talk about the recent Mandalorian trailer that came out last week, and also with the departure of the Game of Thrones producers and writers, what is going to be the future of Star Wars? And towards the end of the podcast, I'm going to be asking you, the viewers, a question about the rise of Skywalker. But before we get into that, I would love to thank you for all of the people who have watched my podcast last week and everyone that has subscribed to my podcast. And if you're new to the podcast, I talk about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, all that fun stuff. So if you like this content and you want to listen more to it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I would love it if you can do that for me. So let's get into the episode. So let's talk about the Mandalorian trailer. Now, I was thinking about making a special episode for the Mandalorian trailer, but it really wasn't that much in the trailer in my eyes. I still like the trailer, there's still some great things into it that I'm excited to see in this TV series. So I was really kind of wondering if I should make a special trailer review. So I just waited until today, obviously, until we get into more stuff we can talk about. But I think what I thought about the trailer, it wasn't as long as the first one, because the first one was probably a little bit over 2 minutes. This one was probably about 90 seconds, I believe. But before recording, I recently, did a recap of the trailer, see what I thought, kind of really refreshed my memory on this new trailer. And I have to say, I really liked it. I'm really excited for this TV series. I'm really excited of where they go with this Mandalorian kind of TV show, because I don't know if you know this, but they're already filming season 2. So they have to be really confident in this TV show, because you look at it, it has a great budget. It has a huge cast to it. It has Carl Weathers. It has all bunch of great and fantastic actors that you can name top to bottom. None of them are really that bad at all. So if you really think of this TV show, there should be no reason why this series would not succeed. I think it's a great idea to really go into really what happened between the Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens. I'm really interested in that time period in those 30 years, and I hope they give us some good cameos, give us some good content of what has happened between that time, especially with this TV show, because I think that's one of the things I've been wanting. Because I know the Disney canon of Star Wars really focused between Empire Strikes Back and the Return of the Jedi, between that time gap. But I really want to see what happens between those 30 years at a kind of a ground level. And that's what I always said about the last trailer. And what really got me excited for the series was it's just a gritty, dirty, and underground kind of Star Wars kind of movie about just bounty hunters and focusing on this Mandalorian. And it's going to be interesting, what is his story arc? Because in this TV show, I think that's who we're going to follow. It's going to be very interesting if this Mandalorian is connected to maybe Boba Fett. Maybe Boba Fett was this Mandalorian's mentor. We don't know. But we do know, like in the first episode, we're gonna get some major spoilers for the Star Wars canon. So maybe we'll get a hint of what happened to Boba Fett, because everyone wondered in the Return of the Jedi, did he really die? Did he really, never been seen again when he went into that pit on Jabba's palace and Tatooine? So I think that would be very interesting if they, mention Boba Fett and saying oh, he's still alive or he's dead. To really confirm that, I think that would be very interesting and a very cool way they can put it into TV shows. Because yes, I know Boba Fett was always discussed as a movie, but if they ever did something with Boba Fett, I think Boba Fett would be great on TV, especially with this Disney Plus where you can really put a good budget behind it. But I just never thought of Boba Fett as a movie. Now, they could have done Boba Fett in the Solo movie. I wouldn't mind that at all, but I don't know how that would work out. But with the Mandalorian trailer, I'm just really hyped about this. Really hyped how this series plays out, how it really kicks into season two, and it's gonna be interesting. Is there gonna be like any surprises have in store? Is there gonna be any big cameos? I'm not expecting like legacy characters to be in there. I know there are some people that want the Knight of Ren in the Mandalorian. I think that would be a cool idea. I really do. To really set up the Knights of Ren even more. At least mention of them, or maybe a mention of the rise of the First Order. I think that might be a little bit too soon. But it's gonna be very interesting what they have in store for us as cameos and surprises, and how much they're going to connect this to like past canon of Star Wars, or even future characters that we see in the sequel trilogy. So that should be very interesting. But like I said, I'm really excited about this TV show. I'm excited where the Mandalorian, the main character, goes in this arc. What's his past? What are they setting up? Are we actually gonna see the Mandalorian's face? Are they gonna take off the mask? Are they gonna keep it mysterious? That's gonna be interesting to see. And it to me it just looks fantastic. It really does. I can't say any more good things about it. It just looks amazing. What John Favreau has really led, and also Dave Filoni has led as well. And the actors, the directors are also going to be directing this episodes of this TV show are just fantastic. I'm really going to be excited, particularly about the director who's directing all 6 episodes of the Obi-Wan TV series. She is gonna direct a couple of episodes in The Mandalorian. So I think I'm gonna keep an eye on those particular episodes. I want to see how her style is and how she directs, because she's gonna be directing all of the Obi-Wan TV episodes. So that is gonna be an interesting lookout for. I think all of you should look out for that. But yeah, I think my final verdict for this trailer is really is a really great trailer to get you excited for this TV series for Disney Plus, and it's something going to be special about this TV series and what it could do for Star Wars. So I think that's my thoughts on the trailer. But tell me, what's your thoughts on it? Are you excited about the Mandalorian? What do you want to have in this TV series? What do you want the cameos to be like? Do you want to hear mention of Knights of Ren and all this those stuff? And how excited are you for the Mandalorian? So tell me in the comments what you think. I would love to hear what are your thoughts about it. So going into topic two, the future of Star Wars. Now, on the same night the Mandalorian trailer dropped, a couple hours later, we found out that the producers and writers of the Game of Thrones series that recently ended this year, they were going to make a trilogy of, seems like a prequel kind of series of how the Jedi came to be, and maybe even how the Sith came to be. But we found out from Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, all of the major Hollywood reporting reliable sources said they're out. They're no more with Lucasfilm. They're no more doing uh, a movie trilogy with Lucasfilm because of their Netflix deal. Now, a lot of people were happy about that because of how they treated the ending of Game of Thrones. and I was one of those people. I did not like how they ended it all. I did not like how they treated characters, specifically Daenerys and the women characters in that last season. Now, I didn't start to see the writing in plot issues until this last season. I thought season 6 was great. I thought season 7 was okay. I thought they would really get it together by 8, but season 8 just fell apart. It really did. And after the whole Game of Thrones, I was really worried about what they would do with Star Wars because I wasn't comfortable with them touching Star Wars because I can't really support their decision what they did with Game of Thrones, and I don't know what it would be like with Star Wars. How they would deal with it. And it was obvious that whatever they didn't agree with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, it did not work either. And I think the weird thing about this is like everyone is blaming Kathleen Kennedy for the departure of the Game of Thrones producers and writers. And I think that's totally wrong. The one thing I like about Kathleen Kennedy, I like many things about Kathleen Kennedy. She's a great producer. She's been doing this for a very long time. She's been not creating, I would say producing one of the all-time greatest films that we know today. I mean, for goodness sake, she produced Back to the Future. She was a producer on that. So there should be no reason why we shouldn't trust her. And going back to the thing I like about Kathleen Kennedy is she knows what George Lucas would want. She knows the vision of George Lucas. She knows the meaning of Star Wars according to George Lucas. She always keeps intact the spirit of Star Wars on how George Lucas would see it. And that's what I appreciate so much about her. Not only with the sequel trilogy, but she has a decisive vision of what Star Wars is. And to be perfectly honest, I'm okay with that. There's a reason why George Lucas only wanted one person finishing his saga. He trusts Kathleen Kennedy. And there was a reason. And I know everyone wants to say about, oh, put Kevin Feige, he understands Star Wars so much. Okay, you can be a fan of Star Wars, no doubt. You can understand everything that you want to know. But if you haven't done it, there's nothing you can do. That's like me saying, I understand how to play quarterback in the NFL. But that doesn't mean I know how to play quarterback in an actual NFL game. And so I think everyone needs to pump the brakes about Kevin Feige taking over at Lucasfilm because I think Kathleen Kennedy's job is perfectly fine. She is not going to leave. She has been such a success with Lucasfilm. I think you could point out Solo, but I just think Solo came out at the wrong time. I personally did. I thought it should have came out around Christmas time instead of the summer blockbuster. I think if it did came out the normal Star Wars month in December, we would be talking about a different story about making money. Because I truly think Solo just came out in a bunch where it did not have a chance to really succeed because I love Solo. And I believe it had a different release date, maybe in the Christmas time in December, like all of the other Disney Star Wars film has been always in December with Rogue One and The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I truly think if it was in that same kind of month in December, it would have made a lot of money because there was too much competition, and most of that competition was from Disney, from Marvel properties, from I believe it was an Avengers, Infinity War, so many things that it caused problems, and I believe it would have made a lot better revenue if it was in December. So I have no reason to question Kathleen Kennedy if she believes that Lucasfilm and the Game of Thrones writers and producers needed to part ways, and if she believes that they weren't totally focused on Star Wars and wasn't 100% into Star Wars, yes, leave. Please leave. Because if you're not 100% in Star Wars, don't even be with the company. because Star Wars should be your priority, your number one priority, because that's how big Star Wars is. Star Wars means so much to a lot of people, and like I said, if you're not going to give your 100%, you're gone. And I'm glad Kathleen Kennedy did that. And you know, I know people are not the biggest fans of Kathleen Kennedy, but you can't argue with her results. I guess you can say what about Solo, but you know, I like the movie, but you can always say someone always has a bad day at the office. Um, but I think she's gonna continue to make Star Wars great, and with the Rise of Skywalker, and with whatever the future is, I think she's really heading Star Wars in the right direction. So let's get actually down to business. What is the future of Star Wars? I mean, we still have Ryan Johnson talking to Lucasfilm about his trilogy, so I think it's more likely that we're gonna see his trilogy. It's even more likely. So, and I'm kind of curious of what his trilogy is, since it's not gonna have any kind of characters we've seen before in Star Wars. Maybe his trilogy will be about the Jedi, or maybe the Jedi and Sith and how that war started, or maybe it's totally different. But for me, as a huge fan of The Last Jedi, I am totally okay with whatever story he wants to tell us, because I know it's going to be great, in my opinion. If it's just as good or even better as The Last Jedi, I think it's gonna be fantastic for Star Wars. Because Last Jedi, every time you watch The Last Jedi, at least for me, it gets better and better. Yeah, I'm not saying that The Last Jedi is a perfect film, because absolutely no film is perfect, because it's art, it's opinion. There's some things that, I would change, but overall, I think it's a fantastic movie. So, I think there's an interesting way Star Wars can go in the future. Only Lucasfilm knows where that direction is, because after the Skywalker saga, that I don't know if we're gonna see these characters again. I mean, it's always a possibility. We really don't know what's gonna happen at the Rise of Skywalker. Who's gonna die? Who's not gonna die? You know. I think it would be a good idea to keep the Skywalker blood alive with Ben Solo, because there's so many things you can do with a redeemed Ben Solo after the Rise of Skywalker. You could do comics, you could do novels, heck, you could even do TV shows if you can convince Adam Driver to come back, or maybe you can do like a one-shot movie of Ben Solo. So there's so many things you can do for the future of Star Wars, which I am excited. I am thrilled about, and I think at least next year at Star Wars Celebration, I think we're gonna get a clearer picture. I really do, with John what is Ryan Johnson's role in Star Wars, what his trilogy is gonna be about. Are they gonna do the Knights of the Old Republic? Because there were some teases about that, about a script, about a treatment being done. So maybe that's their next trilogy. Maybe they make the Knights of the Old Republic canon. I think that would be very interesting. Um, so yeah, there's endless and endless things you can do with Star Wars in its future after, the big saga. Maybe they create a new saga. Maybe instead of instead of the Skywalker saga, they do a Solo saga with Ben and Ray's kids. But I don't think you're gonna see another big saga for about 5-10 years with all of the characters are in the Skywalker saga. So yeah, I think there's plenty of things they can do, which I'm excited for. But I think Star Wars is in great hands. Kathleen Kennedy has Star Wars in perfect hands, that I don't think you have anything to worry about. There's not going to be any problems you need to worry about. I think her results of what she's done with leading Lucasfilm, I think everything's fine and there's nothing to worry about, and you just got to silence the haters, and with Star Wars you're gonna get those haters, but there's nothing to worry about with Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney, and all that with Kathleen Kennedy. And I truly believe whatever the future of Star Wars is, It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be absolutely terrific. So yeah, I think to really put a bow on this topic, I really do think Kathleen Kennedy is in no trouble at all. I believe Lucasfilm is in no trouble at all. So I look forward to what the future of Star Wars is. But tell me, what do you think about the future of Star Wars? What you have any concerns? Do you have any ideas what the future of Star Wars could be? Uh, and yeah, just tell me in the comments. So I would really love to hear your opinions and thoughts. So before I end the podcast for this week, I said that I have a question for all of you. Now, I think this is concerning the Rise of Skywalker. This question. With everything we've seen so far, what do you think the timeline in all the footage we've seen? Because the one thing that I have to ask is because we have seen angry Ray on the Death Star with a calm Kylo coming in like Mr. Darcy, and we got a calm Ray who is just very Jedi like, very know what she has to do, is focused, and she's under control. So I have to ask you, what are your theories about the timeline? What is your speculation of how these events come into order from what we've seen? Because I think it would be very interesting if we have the Death Star fight first. Then we get Pisana. Because I think that would be very interesting because I think everyone believed that we get Pisana, Death Star, then Palpatine in some way or form. But I just think that when you look at that Death Star fight and when we see Rey, she's acting like Ben when he was facing off with Luke on Crate. She was very, excuse me, Ben was very angry on Crate and want to destroy Luke. And he was just going on rage and revenge and all that. And I feel the same way with Rey on the Death Star ruin. So and also to make it even more weird, Ben is acting like Luke. He is calm, cool, and collected. He doesn't want to fight her, just like Luke doesn't really want to fight Ben when they were on Crate. So I think that's just an interesting dynamic, to be honest. And because I'm even having trouble with the timeline, and that's why I'm calling for my viewers for help. I mean, what do you think? What do you think the timeline is gonna be like in the movie? Do you think it's gonna be Basana, then Death Star ruins, or do you think it's Death Star ruins and Basana? Because there's a lot of ways this movie can go, a lot of sequences it can go through in the order of sequences. And I just think it would be very interesting because it really feels like the Death Star ruins is the first time they meet since Crate. Because it just feels like Rey is so really angry of what happened on Crate and how Ben did not come with her and to her to her feelings betrayed her. That that she is very pissed at Ben and very angry at Ben and just wants to attack him and fights him. But like I said, Rey on Basana is a very different attitude than where we're seeing on the Death Star ruins. So that's why I'm coming to my viewers, to my podcast viewers. I'm asking for help. What do you think the timeline is going to be? That's my question to you. How do you think this all going to play out from the footage we got so far? Do you have theories? Do you have speculations? So I would love to hear what are your theories, what are your speculations, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. So yeah, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. So now finally that's gonna be ending of the podcast for this week. So I want to thank you for everyone that has listened to me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So until next time, I hope you have a blessed and awesome week. This is Jordan Davis signing off. See you later. Bye.